I photographed a man under the bridge, and his face was too perfect. Then a picture showed up of me, taken on a day I wasn't there. Everyone with that ratio disappears. I'm at 97%, and something is getting closer. I don't know how many days I have left, so I'm going to talk, while this voice still mostly belongs to me. My name is Dan. I'm a portrait photographer in Portland, Oregon. That used to sound simple. I take pictures of people. I notice details. That was my whole life. Now it feels like a confession, because the thing that's killing me chose me exactly for that, for noticing. It started with a test shot, not even a real portrait. I was under the Hawthorne Bridge, late afternoon, gray sky, trying out a new lens. There was this homeless guy sitting against a concrete pillar, layers of clothes, old army jacket, hands tucked in the sleeves. I took one frame, didn't even ask his name, told myself I'd bring him a print later. I never did. Back home, I opened the RAW file and zoomed in on his face. Just habit, checking sharpness, texture, light, and that's when I saw it. At first, I couldn't tell what was wrong. The face looked normal, tired, rough, but human. But the more I stared, the more it bothered me. So I did what I always do when my brain can't explain something. I started measuring. Distance between the pupils, angle from the corners of the mouth up to the center of each eye, ratios, small geometry. And the numbers were too perfect. The distance between the eyes and the line of the mouth formed a proportion I'd only ever seen in textbooks and 3D models, not on a real human being. Then I zoomed into the eyes. Both pupils had a highlight, same shape, same size. That happens. But here, the little reflection was pixel perfect in both eyes. Exactly the same. No distortion, no variation. Light doesn't do that. Not on a real face. I sat there, staring at the screen, telling myself it was nothing. A quirk, a glitch of the lens or the sensor. I should have stopped there. A week later, my cloud backup sent me a notification. Recovered archive, 2015, RAW portrait session. I wasn't looking for anything, I just clicked out of boredom. Old jobs, forgotten faces, clients who probably had kids by now. There was a folder with no name, just a date, October 12th, 2015. I opened it. There were 3 shots, and on the second one, I saw myself. Standing on the sidewalk outside Powell's Books, gray jacket, hands in my pockets, looking straight at the camera. The timestamp said 2:14 p.m., same day, same time I was teaching a class on the other side of town. There are attendance sheets, emails. I was in a windowless classroom, showing kids how to use a light meter. But the man in that photo was me. Not just kind of like me. He had my scar on the chin from when I fell off my bike at 12, my posture, my stupid habit of tilting my head a few degrees to the right. I should have told myself it was some old street photo I'd forgotten about, a behind-the-scenes shot, maybe a student snapped it. But I didn't, because the second I zoomed in, I saw the same thing I'd seen in the homeless man's face. The ratio, the math, the distance between the pupils, the angle down to the mouth, the lines of the jaw, too exact, too clean. And when I zoomed all the way into the eyes, the highlights were identical. Perfect little white shapes, mirrored without a single deviation. And then something worse. When I stepped frame by frame through the tiny bit of motion blur on my eyelids, there were no micro changes, no fine wrinkles, no subtle shift of the skin you get when a real eye refocuses. It was like someone had pasted the idea of my face into the world without bothering with the details inside the skin. That night I didn't sleep. The next morning, I pulled up my old drives, backup after backup, jobs I barely remembered, and I started seeing it everywhere. Not on every face, just some. A girl I'd shot for a coffee shop ad, a middle-aged man from a corporate team shoot, a stranger in the background of a street photo in Seattle from a trip I took in 2018. All of them had the same proportion, the same impossible symmetry in the eyes, the same correction. I checked their names. I tried to find them. Emails bounced. Phone numbers were dead. Social media pages deleted or abandoned years ago. And then I found something that stuck with me. An old news clipping about the coffee shop girl. She'd gone missing. No body, no signs of struggle. Just one line. An unresolved disappearance. Her last photo on her profile had the ratio. I measured it. Every time it matched. I started calling it Sutter's ratio, after a professor I had in college who used to talk about faces wanting to be perfect. He was wrong. Faces don't want anything. Something else does. The world shifted for me on a Tuesday night in November. It was one of those damp Portland evenings when the air feels heavy and every light halo looks dirty. I walked downtown just to get out of my head. Told myself I'd people watch, maybe clear my thoughts. On the corner near Burnside, I saw a man standing alone, hood up, plastic grocery bag on his wrist, body angled across the sidewalk like he'd just paused for a second. Nothing strange, until he looked up. Our eyes met, and I felt my legs lock. The ratio, the alignment. His face wasn't perfect, but the geometry was. I didn't need to measure it. My brain had learned it by then. He held the stare too long. Not aggressive, not curious, just observing. Then, slowly, he tried to smile. The mouth moved in this pre-calculated arc, too smooth, too even, like somebody had animated it in software without knowing how muscles resist, how skin bunches, how real faces twitch and hesitate. I turned away, told myself I was being paranoid. Too much coffee, too many hours staring at screens. I crossed the street. That's when I heard the footsteps. They weren't loud, just present, behind me. I sped up. The footsteps sped up. And then I realized they weren't just matching my pace, they were matching my heartbeat. Every time my pulse hit, a step landed. Not in the pauses, not between breaths, exactly with the rhythm hammering inside my chest. I tried to change my stride, to throw it off, and for a second, one beat went empty. Then the sound snapped back in, perfectly aligned. Step, pulse, step, pulse. No gasping, no exhale behind me. Just the sound of shoes on wet concrete syncing with my body like I was being controlled from the outside. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I made it to my building, fumbled keys, got inside. The footsteps stopped the moment the door shut. Not faded, not moved away, just stopped. Like someone hit mute. After that night, everything divided into before and after. Every morning I stood in front of the bathroom mirror with a tape measure in my hand. I didn't even try to lie to myself anymore. The numbers were creeping, a fraction of a millimeter closer here, a slightly cleaner angle there. The reflections in my eyes started to look more alike. One morning, the highlights on both pupils lined up almost perfectly. I told myself it was coincidence. My hands were shaking too much to trust the measurements. Yesterday, I tried something else. I wanted to see if anything human was still functioning right. So I made myself think about the people who were gone, the girl from the coffee shop, the nameless man under the bridge, faces from my hard drives that the world had quietly erased. I waited until my throat tightened, until I felt that ache behind the nose. Then I focused on the mirror and forced myself to cry. One tear came, just one. It rolled down exactly through the center of my left cheek, not curving around the bone, not catching on the skin. A straight line, like it had chosen the most symmetrical path possible. I watched it move, and realized I couldn't feel it. No sting in the eye, no warmth on the skin. It was just a visual effect. I went back to the archives one last time. I compared timelines. When the ratio first appeared, when the eyes got symmetric, when they stopped blinking at the right moments, and when the videos ended. There was a pattern. Week 1, tiny deviations, barely there. Week 2, symmetry settling in, highlights lining up, expressions becoming smoother. Week 3, people started to lag behind their own emotions. Their faces kept reacting even when the situation changed, like they were on a short delay. By week 4, they were so clean, so mathematically flawless, that the cameras stopped seeing them. Not because they vanished in a flash of light, not because something dragged them away. The world just forgot to render them. The room stayed, the chair stayed, the clothes sometimes stayed, but the person was gone. Not dead, not there, just removed. Like an object in a photo someone expertly cloned out, leaving no trace. This morning I measured again, pupil distance, angles from eyes to mouth, eye reflections. I compared them to the last frames of every missing person I'd tracked. 97%. I don't think I'm going to see it reach 100. None of them did. They don't come when you're marked. They don't come when you first notice. They come when you're almost finished, when there's just enough of you left to understand what's happening, enough to be afraid, not enough to stop it. That's why I'm recording this now. Not for help. There is no help. By the time you recognize Sutter's ratio, it's already inside your face, inside your voice, inside the way you stand still when you think no one's looking. I know how this sounds. If I heard myself a year ago, I'd call it delusion, a breakdown. But check your photos. Find an old picture of yourself or someone you used to know. Measure the distance between the pupils. Look at the reflections in each eye. If they're a little off, a little messy, you're fine. If they're perfect, you won't feel it at first. The world will keep going. Bills, traffic, weather, all the stupid noise. But something will be learning you, smoothing you out, erasing the parts that don't fit. And when you're clean enough, when your face stops being entirely yours, they'll finish what I started. They don't imitate people. They imitate what we were meant to become.